The Prime Minister late this afternoon refused to be drawn on the issue as Immigration Minister Alex Hawke continues to consider using discretionary powers to revoke Djokovic's visa. SBS reporter Abby Dinham joins us now from Melbourne. Good evening, Abby. There was speculation we would have an answer today, and this afternoon it looked likely. What happened?
That's right, Catalina. I think 3 o'clock when Tennis Australia announced that the men's single draw would be postponed, everybody was holding their breath. Presumably they were waiting for some clarity from the Prime Minister's press conference. But as you said again, he deferred the decision on potentially cancelling Djokovic's visa again to the Immigration Minister. So the draw went ahead just after 4 o'clock. The world number one drawing fellow Serbian player Miomir Kecmanovic, a player 12 years his junior. So that should be an interesting matchup if, of course, it's let to go ahead. Four days until the first coin toss. The world number one prepares for a match he may never get to play.
If you're not in the country, you won't be playing in the tournament, will you?
A week after arriving in Australia, Novak Djokovic's visa sits on a knife edge. Public opinion divided on whether or not he should be allowed to stay and play.
I don't see any point cancelling his visa,
If no one else can get in that's not vaccinated, then he shouldn't be allowed to.
Should he play at the Australian Open? No.
Unvaccinated, Djokovic entered Australia with a medical exemption issued by Tennis Australia, endorsed by the state government on the grounds he'd just recovered from COVID. The Deputy PM says no one is above the law.
Whether they're a tennis player or the King of Spain or the Queen of England can come up here and have a different set of rules.
The cancellation overturned by the Federal Circuit Court that found he was unfairly treated by Border Force.
Australia has a policy of not allowing unvaccinated people into Australia. It's beyond my comprehension how we've got to this point.
An investigation by German publication Der Spiegel casting doubt over the results of the Serbians' December 16 COVID test. Pictured at a kids' tennis event, Djokovic said he didn't know his result at this stage, but admitted he did know during this interview, calling it an error in judgment.
He made the mistake and he said, OK, that was not good, but what we can do now in this moment.
Serbian authorities are considering if the world number one could face fines or jail time for breaching COVID isolation rules. Spain launching its own investigation after it emerged he'd stopped in the country to train en route to Melbourne, failing to declare the detour in Australian travel documents in what he called a human error.
No tengo yo constancia de esa presencia de Djokovic.
In Spanish law, if Djokovic doesn't have residency or a travel permit, he's considered an illegal unvaccinated tourist. With his conduct being scrutinised in 3 countries, Novak Djokovic says he's just trying to remain focused on his Australian Open campaign. But even if he is allowed to play, the world number one may not get the warm reception he's used to.
I reckon he'd get booed off. I think it would be a mixed reception.
No, I'd rather watch Rafa.
Statements to the Immigration Minister as he considers using his personal powers of cancellation in the matter. The Prime Minister would not confirm any plans for deportation today, saying it's a matter for the Immigration Minister to decide. But he made it clear arrivals must be double vaccinated or have acceptable proof of a medical exemption.
That is the policy. And of course we would be expecting authorities to be implementing the policy of the government when it comes to those matters.
Tennis fans around the country left waiting to see if the world number one will compete for his 10th Australian Open title. While we don't know when we're likely to hear from the Immigration Minister on the issue, we do know that if he does take steps to again cancel Djokovic's visa, his lawyers are likely to file an injunction against the decision. The Federal Circuit Court can't sit tomorrow, meaning that an appeal would likely be pushed back to next week when the tournament has already started. So that raises the prospect of Djokovic being pulled out of the Australian Open after play has already begun. And we also don't know if in the interim he would be taken back into immigration detention at the Park Hotel. So a lot of unknowns in this situation at the moment. What we can say is that it's certainly not finished as yet.
The saga continues. Thank you for keeping us updated. Abby Dinham there in Melbourne.